Yes, I did make an entire video about eggs, and yes, it will be egg-excruciating. An egg is an organic vessel grown by an animal to carry a possibly fertilized egg cell and to incubate an embryo to become an animal fetus that can survive on its own, at which point the animal hatches. That's a fancy way to say fragile little animal balloon. First off, more than 99% of animals lay eggs. A vast majority of this are insects, as there are over 5.5 million species comprising more than 10 quintillion insects alive at any given time, which is over 80% of life on Earth. Of all the animals that lay eggs, the first one that comes to mind are birds. As of this moment, the eggs of every bird species are edible except for the blue-capped ifrit and the hooded pitohui, which happen to both be native species of Papua New Guinea. Both of these birds are actually poisonous. The eggshells of bird eggs are made of calcium carbonate, which have tiny pores that allow the embryo to breathe. The embryo is the immature developing chick, which gets sustenance from the vitellus, or yolk, of the egg. Next up are fish eggs, or roe if you eat them raw. Now I know you're thinking, wait, isn't that caviar? Roe refers to all fish eggs, while caviar only refers to sturgeon eggs. As you can see, the structure of a fish egg is vastly different from a bird egg. The biggest difference being, instead of a shell, there's a chorion for an outer membrane. Next up are reptiles. The structure of a reptile egg is very similar to a bird egg, which makes sense when you look at their evolution. Not all reptiles lay eggs. A few notable exceptions that give live birth are boas, vipers, and skinks. Next up we have amphibians, which are very similar to fish, both in egg structure and in behavior. Most amphibians choose to lay eggs like rational beings, and then there's the Suriname toad that gives birth through its back because God has abandoned us. The biggest group that lays eggs are insects. Needless to say, as there are literally millions of different insects and thus different types of eggs, I'll boil this down to a brief statement. Scientists have deduced that the wildly different shapes, sizes, and colors of insect eggs are most likely an evolutionary response to the environment in which each insect lays said eggs. For instance, in the woods, on other natural or artificial surfaces, glued to the underbellies of leaves, etc. Lastly, there are monotremes. They're not like the other mammals. There are only two types of monotremes, the duck-billed platypus and the echidna, and there are both short and long-billed echidnas. Apparently, these mammals lay eggs due to their ties to water. In 2013, the egg of the largest bird ever was sold for $101,813. The elephant bird, which went extinct about 1,000 years ago, stood up to 11 feet high and actually laid an egg that was about 100 times the size of a chicken. That's a perfect segue into chickens. The reason we eat chicken eggs instead of duck or turkey eggs is the fact that chickens just lay more eggs. They need less nesting space, and they don't have the strong mothering instincts that turkeys or ducks do, which makes egg collection easier. In fact, the hen takes between 24 to 26 hours to develop a new egg. Once she lays the egg, it starts development of a new egg within 30 minutes. Most of today's egg-laying hens are white leghorns, which lay white eggs, or Rhode Island Reds and barred Plymouth Rocks, which do the brown eggs. Now for a quick lesson in egg carton terminology. When you look on your egg carton and you see the phrase cage-free, you might picture beautiful, frolicking pastures and fields, when in reality, they simply aren't caged. According to the USDA, they can, quote, freely roam a building, room, or enclosed area with unlimited access to food and fresh water during their production cycle, but do not have access to the outdoors. Cage-free facilities typically have more hen-on-hen violence and lower air quality than facilities that use cages. Next up is free range, another USDA-regulated term, which means that the eggs come from hens that have some sort of access to the outdoors. However, it doesn't mean that they actually go outdoors, or that the outdoor space, if at all, is more than a small fenced-in area. It simply implies that a door exists that a farmer supposedly could open at some point. The real deal is pasture-raised, which is not actually a term regulated by the USDA. However, if a carton says pasture-raised and includes stamps such as certified humane or animal welfare approved, it means that each hen was given 108 square feet of outdoor space as well as indoor space in a barn. This is pretty much as close as you can get to the E-I-E-I-O family farm vibe that you can get from a large corporation. So if you're looking to support a practice like this, keep a lookout for those labels. An even better idea is to support your local farms or even get chickens yourself. I'm sure a lot of apartment complexes out there have real lax rules about keeping poultry in your room. Now, if you watched my last video, you'll know that chef hats have 100 crimps in them to designate the 100 ways to cook an egg. Well, there are actually more than 100 ways to cook an egg. There's scrambled, boiled, soft or hard, poached, baked, basted, fried, shirred, coddled, pickled, deviled. They're used to make omelets, quiche, frittatas, and soufflés. Eggs go into cake batters, breakfast burritos, breads, pastries, and are used to make mayonnaise and hollandaise sauce. They're even used in pet foods, shampoos, and vaccine production. Bet you didn't know about those. Eggs are used at Easter time because they represent new life and rebirth. Let's wrap this up with some controversy here. We're going to talk about Humpty Dumpty. Now, I hate this guy. Humpty Dumpty is so weird, so creepy, so ugly, he definitely just stares at kids all day. Now, the reality is, Humpty Dumpty was never clarified to be an egg. In reality, he was probably a cannon used in the Royal English Civil War back in the 1600s. Let's not talk about it anymore. Instead, next time June 3rd rolls around, celebrate a real egg. Wasn't that egg-citing? Excellent. Extremely interesting. I'll make my exit. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, everyone. And as always, don't be a dumb fork, be a smart spoon.